Oh, Corey, hello there.
Philip.
Well, how you doing, bye?
Good. Yourself?
Fantastic. It's a long weekend.
Is it though?
Yeah. Nah, not well. It is for me. I mean, it's long. It's
You
long.
sure? Yeah. I
Took
mean,
Friday
did you get
off.
Monday off?
Yeah.
Monday off?
Oh yeah. Well, everyone does. It's Victoria Day.
Yeah,
It's a
but
stat.
do you really get it off though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody could
I
call you
do.
and say, "Oh my God, we have an emergency." Oh, that's right. So you
Okay.
make
Okay. If that, yeah. Yes, but I won't be me.
that won't be you.
It won't be me going. Yeah. No. But it rained all yesterday, which was terrible. Which was my birthday, by the way.
I thought I had a really. Huh.
Yeah. Thanks, jerk. Anyway.
Okay. Well, yeah. I guess I need to put that back in my calendar. By the way, I can't even remember my own birthday if I didn't put it in the calendar.
Only teasing. But yeah, no, like it rained all day yesterday.
That's too bad.
So I'm like, damn it. And I bought a new barbecue. I
What'd
wanted
you
a
get?
barbecue. Bro King.
Okay, I got a
I'm going with
Napoleon.
my old standby.
I got a Napoleon.
I can't afford a Napoleon.
Costco
Man.
was $600. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, well, mine was, yeah. You know what? My barbecue was a Broil King before, and I loved this damn thing. It was nothing fancy, but this thing always started. It still works. It's getting that, you know, it looks like I pulled it out of a dumpster sort of look. Like
That was me with my Weber, and I had a bunch of Costco money. Like I had like $600 in Costco cash, and
sweet baby Jesus.
I was like, I guess I'm gonna
Why not?
buy a barbecue.
Right. Well, mine. So I told them not to even bother delivering it, because they deliver, like they put it together for you. Like it's
Nice.
fantastic.
Turns out if you look pathetic enough in the parking lot of Costco, somebody will help you load it in the back of your truck.
Yeah, you just got to cry. A little bit of tears. It helps.
Yeah. Right. Be crushed under the barbecue.
That's right. Did you have to assemble it?
Yes.
Oh.
A couple hours.
Oh, well, yeah, it does take a while. I know.
And crawling around underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the subject of assembly, Phil, what's tonight's topic?
Whoa.
Today's topic.
Assembly. We're not, this is why no one knows what this is, because no one can say it. Gnosticism.
The G is silent.
The G is silent, Gnosticism.
Gnostics. Like your jalapenos.
I put my kid in Gnostics.
You ready to get started, buddy?
Yeah, let's do this, man. Perfect. Welcome to the OC. I'm Phil. This is my co-host Corey, and tonight we're talking about Gnosticism, not agnostics.
Not agnostics, which is funny enough when you look at that. Yeah, you know what? The whole Gnosticism, agnostic.
So it made more sense once I correlated the two. But let's not. I don't want to ruin it for people. I mean, this isn't.
Don't want to ruin it.
Our viewers are probably like, "Hey, he's spoiling it. He's doing all the good stuff and right at the beginning."
Everybody wants stuff now, Phil. Everybody wants stuff hot and fresh.
Prime now.
It's free.
Prime to your door now.
That's right. Go.
I wanted 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you can Amazon. Same delivery.
You're in the city where you can get Prime to that day.
Depending on the thing. They have the massive evil warehouse.
Can you imagine?
It seriously looks like a secret government facility.
It is.
You're like, oh my God, look at that sinister looking building. I wonder what goes on there.
Yeah.
It's like the Ark of the Covenant, I think, is in there.
You had like 9 levels of security to get into there. I mean,
you know what? I wonder about that because they always were looking for warehouse staff. And I'm like, I'm sure they've got measures in place to stop people from lifting stuff. But I'm pretty sure if you wanted to do an inside job, you could figure something out. Like, I don't think there's armed guards there. I think there's a lot of stuff that.
Can you imagine if you just wanted random parcels?
You'd work for Canada Post.
Right? I mean, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I think you would just be so sick of looking at that shit, you wouldn't even bother.
I think
You're
they're too
like,
busy keeping you on your toes with all the metrics they've got, saying you've got 45 seconds for a pee break. Go.
go,
The washroom's a minute and a half away. Yes, go on the way. Well, then
go
why would I go?
now. Put
Go.
in your catheter. You're
That's
given
right.
your Amazon issued catheter.
Here's your bottle.
Yeah, yeah. The bag, the colostrum bag or whatever. So tell me about Gnosticism, because you have a better grip of this than I do. I mean, this was it heresy. God damn it.
Burn the witch. Yeah. So Gnosticism. So think of like at one time. So we always think that, Jesus showed up and,
Change
everybody
the game.
changed the game, wrote a book, and
Michael
everybody followed it.
Jordan of religion, right? Like, he
Yes,
really
yes,
came in and just
that's right. Or the Muhammad Ali of religion.
fair. You any reference to a black athlete will do.
That's right.
Uh,
Wait, well, damn it, they're all black. Oh
they
God,
are.
us white guys suck at sports.
Yeah, can't jump, can't
Yes,
jump, can't fight.
but it's the
Yeah,
whole idea that Christianity was not this fully formed idea, and
right.
consistent, and I don't know, one solid. Oh, we all agree on this. I mean, even
They
yeah, they
still
do agree on
don't.
some things. They still don't. Yes, correct. I
They
mean, we have sects
still
all over the
don't.
place. Well,
We're
imagine back in the day when they were starting it up, and everybody
right
was coming up with crazy ideas of how it all
without a
sets up.
printing press.
Yes, that's right. Mud tablets,
Oh
all
no,
that sort of stuff.
where did John put his stuff?
And FYI, you're using a book. You're basing somebody else's book, right?
The Old Testament. Well, I mean,
Well, the
you're
old right. You're basing off the Hebrew Bible, and it's like, okay, so you're
right.
taking that, and you're sort of saying, you know what, we need
Okay,
to create a new religion. So, in the case of Gnosticism,
right.
it means many things. It has been applied broadly to anything that is not your traditional like religion. So they would call
Monotheic, right?
well,
Singular God.
they would often call, for example, other religions Gnostic. If you had a unique take on it, you worship trees, well, it's a Gnostic religion, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Right, you go off and you do it. So again, if you're not following generally the monotheistic model, like even at one point they were calling some of the Muslim scholars Gnostics, when it's like, okay, wait a second, no, they aren't really Gnostics in that sense of Gnosticism that we're going to talk about.
Right, right. Well, what I read was mostly about how um it was this benevolent God, like a single power of sort of evil. It wasn't really a nice God.
Which one? Which one are we talking? The big guy or the guy
Yama,
who created?
who's the
So
other?
you're talking the You're talking the Demethurge, yeah, who's called
Yeah,
Yama Mama, not the monad,
not the,
right?
no. He was sort of like impartial. Don't care. You guys do you.
But he was the big.
Um,
So that was
that's the
the
big
supreme
God.
being. The supreme being that we.
That's right.
It's kind of messed up. So in the case of Gnosticism, right, you
Right.
have this supreme being that we sort of think as God. That basically, if you look at our definition of they are the the Omega, the Alpha, the Omega. They are the beginning and the end.
Right.
This perfect entity that essentially thought up all these helpers who
Right.
then did stuff, which then did other stuff.
Right. But then,
Okay.
so I mean, they take away the biggest thing is that they take away that Jesus was like the embodiment of God, right? Or whatever. That he was more of a spiritual, he found the spirituality, right? Of
That's
the,
that's a key excellent, right? So the idea being that
yeah.
the monad, the one above all, or whatever you want to call it, is essentially the origin of everything and
Right.
thought up these other deities. And one of these other deities, Sophia, also known as wisdom, said, hey, you know what? I would really like to create something, but instead of doing it the proper way, hooking up with another Aeon or angel or whatever,
Right.
she created a flawed creature called the Demiurge. The Demiurge
Yeah.
didn't realize they're not the end all, the end all be all. So they said,
Right.
well, I'm the creator. I'm going to create everything. So they created the universe, the physical universe. It's the dualistic nature of Gnosticism. You have the
Yes.
spiritual aspect, which is the perfection, and then you have
Yeah.
the physical world, which is flawed. And in the
Very.
case, very flawed. And
Very flawed.
And let's talk about the demiurge, because that's sort of the Old Testament God, right? This is the guy who
Yes.
says, I am a jealous God, have no other gods before me, and
Yeah. Fire,
FYI,
brimstone,
do what I say or I'm going to wipe you out, because I created
floods,
everything. And
pestilence.
it's not wrong, Phil. He did
Yeah.
create everything, but he's not the originator in Gnosticism. In Gnosticism, the monad is the originator of everything.
Yeah. And that's only one version of
That's
Gnosticism.
one version. So this is where you
There's
talk about
so many
yes.
versions of.
Uh-huh.
So this is a rabbit hole, and anyone watching, if you want to really, test your brain power, I mean, you can probably dig back. This goes back to the Greeks. This goes back to basically anything pre-Christianity.
Well,
That can
the
be,
whole
they don't even know, like from what I'm like, what
Coptic,
went when.
Coptic. They've stuff the stuff that was written in Coptic, which is like the ancient Egyptian language, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
right. So it's like it's there. So they say one AD or whenever, like
yeah.
basically the time of Christ, and then you have all these other scriptures that kind of go beyond that, right? But they all kind of follow the same theme. It doesn't matter what you look at.
There is a pattern, correct?
Absolutely. And then you kind of go, okay, well, this makes sense. And then they take the deep dive into modern day Gnosticism, like as an underground cult of individuals.
So gnosis,
Yes.
not
Not
gnosis,
just
is
gnosis.
knowledge, right? It's Greek for knowledge, right?
Right.
And one thing that's common with Gnostic religions, and they say Gnostic, so you'll hear they group them together. When we're talking about Gnosticism specifically regarding this whole structure,
Yeah, it's
but they,
heresy. It's the
well, it's totally heresy,
heretics.
but the idea of Gnostic religions is often the idea of secret knowledge, which, hey, guess what?
Freemasons.
Freemasons, right? Insert secret society here. They've got the promise of secret knowledge.
Well, I think anything that's secret, then you go, oh, right. But they have scriptures and they read, like, I mean, there's a lot going on in there, and why not think that there's something? Because one of their main things isn't that you have to be a Christian to be a Freemason. You just have to believe in a higher power.
Which, hey, guess what?
So
If you believe in the monad,
right, you don't have to believe in, like, it's your version of the higher power, right? So, and that's where agnostic people come in. Those are the fence riders, those buggers. They really do. They're like, well, I want to say there's no God, but
that's right.
I mean,
Exactly.
just in case there is a God.
That's right. As opposed to atheists, because it's like agnostic
Yeah.
versus atheist.
Yeah, you're
right?
taking
So
a stand as
agnostic,
an atheist. You're like, yeah,
there is none. There is no
there's
God. Whereas
nothing there.
agnostic is, I don't believe in any particular religion. That doesn't mean you
Yeah.
don't believe in a
Yeah.
God.
I could be swayed.
I could
I
be
mean,
swayed. I'm not
yeah,
convinced.
I don't have a horse in this race, but I mean, if it's Muhammad, fine. Let's run with it.
Muhammad was not a god, Phil.
No,
Muhammad was
yeah,
a prophet.
You're right. You're right. Muhammad. Allah.
There we go. Yes, that's
Allah was
right.
the God.
Right.
Sorry, Muhammad was the prophet. I
Which again,
apologize.
yeah, exactly. You just offended the 3 Muslim viewers we have.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd have to figure out how our viewing.
We don't have that kind of statistics.
Well, you laugh, but on Spotify, for example, it's like, here's your sample audio. I'm like,
Yeah,
right.
really, nice.
Sounds like we're. Sounds like
at least some people are listening. That's what matters.
More than nobody. So that's good. That
Fair
is good.
enough. And we get to talk to each other on a regular basis.
That is true.
And learn things. That's also true.
Yes.
Yeah. And back to Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, there was a lot of, because no one knows exactly what they do, blah, blah,
Except
blah.
for Freemasons.
Except, well, obviously, because they have a secret handshake. Everyone gets their panties in a bunch.
Yeah.
And maybe they are reading, they have to memorize scripts or something to gain their levels, right? Isn't
their secret knowledge. They have to learn their secret knowledge again, which is right. A lot of this. And this is where, when you talk about the heresy, the Catholic Church, we call it the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was not the Catholic Church. I mean, it was Christianity, and then it sort of all got sort of set up
like the Roman Catholic.
Correct, right? Once it became the official state religion of Rome, they're like, we're in.
We got this.
But
Let's
this is where
start
they
our own city.
demonize, where they go off and demonize the Gnostics in whatever shape. We're not just talking. So the Gnosticism we're talking about is
Right.
hardcore Christian heresy, right? Like we're talking, they upend everything. Like it's like, hey, Jesus was the son of God. Well, okay, first off, the God you're talking about is wrong. That's the bad God, or he's either evil or he's just not good at his job because he's he means well, but he's not good at his job. That's
He's
the more
defunct.
polite. He's a fraud being. He's a fraud being, right?
There's a lot of hate.
A lot of hate, right? But then you've got the other things where they would go after, because again, this was the Hunger Games of theology at one point, right?
Of course.
Like think about when all these things are, what is the predominant belief?
Right.
Well,
and you can be killed. You can be executed for
Yes.
the wrong answer in the wrong group of people.
You think Thanksgiving dinner with your racist Uncle Jack is bad. Well,
right. Well,
imagine if Uncle Jack had the ability to go off and order you to be, hung to the stoned or hung from the neck until dead.
Mm-hmm.
I think heretics were burned.
Probably, which is maybe the worst. I mean, I don't know. Drowning. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
So when I was going to deep dive into this topic, they talked about the heretics and they said about the burning, and they said it's a really horrible way to die because your fats liquefy, right? So when you burn this isn't a quick, like we're not talking fell into the sun kind of burn. We're talking slow roast. You were slow.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a horrible way to go. They do say though that if the fire was hot enough, it would burn your, a lot of your sensory
third degree burns. And there's a reason why third degree burns don't hurt is because it's murdered everything, but it has to get to that point. And you know what?
Right. You're cooking from the bottom up. Usually
they don't put you on. This isn't like your barbecue that you just bought, Phil, where they go off and they say, okay, heat the steak to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, or I don't know, 200 Celsius, whatever I'm not sure exactly how the conversion works.
Yeah.
And then put the person on. It's like, okay, set them up, get your faggots of wood, give them a chance to repent.
You're hoping it's a hard, dry wood. Hotter the flame, the better. You don't want no punky wood.
That's right. You don't have the smoke. It's like smoky, or you want it really smoky. I guess technically, if it's really smoky wood, you would die of smoke inhalation first, which I had heard was often the case.
You would hope. Because, I mean, burning to death. That's not cool.
I remember reading about some of the executions they would do, and some of the more horrible ones, like the drawing, like the breaking on the wheel. For example, you could actually slip the executioner some extra money, and what he would do is he would basically choke you before he broke you on the wheel,
which would be fantastic.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be,
that's seriously,
the end is here. The end is here. So you know what?
I'm on the wheel. Listen,
you're doing me a favor here. I'll slip you a $5. Could you just kill me? And then don't worry, or even do it while like choke me out while you're doing it. So I'm like, and I'll kick and scream, but while you're getting ready to set me up, and that way I'm dead before you break all my limbs and thread them to the wheel and roll me down the road.
Until like the guy that's like in charge goes, he's awfully relaxed.
That's right. He seems look, I can't help but notice he's not.
I've never seen anyone take a wheel like this. This is
this guy.
This is insane.
Oh, he's innocent. Get him off the wheel.
Yeah. No, he's dead.
He's dead. Damn it.
Horrible. Can you
get the CSI team? Get the CSI team. How did he die?
Yeah,
you broke his legs and threaded him through a wheel and rolled him down the road.
Yeah, it's hard to do an autopsy when your bones are jello.
Yeah,
crushed to dust. I mean, there's so many cruel, horrible fucking things that they did.
And this plays into the treatment of the Gnostics. And we say Gnostics, we're talking about the Gnosticism and this, as opposed to Gnostics in general. This actually makes their point in their minds of why the physical world is flawed and the spiritual world isn't. Because it's the dualistic nature, right? They believe that you have this perfect spiritual world, which we would sort of consider to be heaven. And then you have the physical world, which is flawed horribly.
Right.
And FYI, look at the shitty things we do to each other.
Horrible.
Guess what? You torture people for saying the wrong thing. Now, let's not kid ourselves. If the Gnostics were in charge, they would do the same thing.
I don't know if it matters who's in charge anymore. Right? I mean, you look at when you, especially when you deal with religion, which I personally think is one of the worst, you know, cancers that the world has ever, been faced with. I mean,
It wouldn't matter whether it was religion. There's always going to be red ants, black ants. I'm going to believe one thing. I mean, you're going to see it. Religion is just another way of
but
chopping us up
religion
into groups.
places, no, yeah, but here's the difference. We can have different political views, right?
Yes, and then we want to kill each other for that.
Absolutely. And that does happen. But when we start to deal with religion, and this is how I've always looked at it, is that now we're dealing with something beyond this life, right?
Sure.
So we're messing with what happens to me after all this suffering. And that's not cool. Right. And I think that's why you have, such deep rooted wars and deep, because now you're not just dealing with this physical world that we're dealing with. We're dealing now with, hey, I've suffered here. I don't
It's a
want to
spiritual
suffer.
battle.
Right.
It's a
I don't want
spiritual
to
battle
suffer.
too, right?
If we lose, like I'm gonna suffer in the next life too. So, and I see that, like, so you're playing on fear. You're playing on that human nature of fear.
Oh yeah,
So
and the thing about this is, like, I can control you in this life by saying, if you don't do it in this life,
yeah, you're yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And I think that's how it was, right? Like good versus evil, and Christian,
Well,
and
again, back to the dualistic concept, right? So dualism itself is a philosophy where it talks about, you essentially have two, either competitive or complementary things, right? In the
right,
case of
right,
Gnosticism, the dualism is the physical versus the spiritual, and the idea is the physical is the flawed creation of the demiurge, and
right.
the spiritual is the perfection plane of the guy who can't do no wrong, the monad. Yeah, that's it.
Who also doesn't
And
want to be bothered with, and if I had to
he's
picture
perfect. He
a
doesn't
perfect
care. He's
God,
so, like, he's chill. He's chill. He
yeah,
doesn't care. He's like,
yeah,
I don't make mistakes. I don't care. I have I have no desires, no urges, no
yeah,
nothing.
yeah, right. Like he just, if, because I mean, when we look at religion, you go, oh, there's a God, and he's in everybody's life and everybody's
And he
business,
gives a damn and
and he
gives a damn.
cares. And then you
Yes.
go, if you had like, do you ever look at ants and go, I wonder what they're doing down there?
Well,
No.
you might look at them
Worry
and
about
go,
stepping on them?
yes,
Do
boiling an
you?
anthill.
Okay, but I mean, in all honesty, you don't leave your house going, I don't want to step on a tiny insect. It's
I
not
don't
in
go out
your,
of my way to destroy
I'm
them,
not
but
saying you
yes,
do, but do you
but
consider it when you're leaving the house? Because you've probably killed like dozens and dozens of things by the time you got to your car. We don't think about it, man.
no.
And that's like vegans with farming. So many animals die in the process of farming vegetables, and but it's their mindset. Oh, I don't hurt animals. Well, you know how many gophers have died because they're being cut to pieces by
Uh,
farm equipment, or moles, or they
yeah,
like
yes, yep.
shrews, every snakes, every fucking creature on a farm is killed.
Again, and this plays into the Gnostics' belief that the physical realm is flawed.
Right.
Jesus wasn't sent here to go off and you know, say worship me and find, no, the whole theory under Gnosticism is that Jesus was sent here, whatever, however, whether it was
Well, he was
somebody
born.
who had,
He was
well,
just born a man, and he became enlightened.
correct. So it's the idea. So the one common thread through all the things I've read is
That
that
I read anyway.
enlightenment. But no, but I read the same thing. I read other ones where they say he was the creation of Bardello and the monad, right? No,
Yeah.
common thread is that he had the enlightenment, the wisdom, the understanding that the physical realm is not the important part.
Right.
This, while we're here, is
Right.
flawed.
Right.
You have to get that secret knowledge, that enlightenment,
Yeah.
to know that the spiritual realm is where it's at.
Yeah. There was even some stuff I read about, like, he would eat certain food, only certain foods, to reach, like, I'm just like, wow, this is totally gone on some weird
I'm going to
tangent, but
say this wrong. I'm going to say this wrong, but he was a lot of the Gnostic stuff is aesthetic, aesthetic, as the whole guy who goes off and flagellates himself, the whole guy who decides he's going to not eat. I'm trying
Right.
I don't know. I can't.
Right.
I want to say asceticism. I'm pronouncing the term wrong, but it starts with
Yeah.
an A, and it's
Right.
essentially a monk. And things like Jesus, it tends to lead itself to that kind of lifestyle
Right.
where you're picking what you eat, right?
Yeah. Well, it just, yeah. So there was just because they, I don't know. There was so much. There's so much. And if you decide to read into this, there's a lot of different directions that this all goes. But you're right. Essentially, like it's that separation of the spiritual world and the physical world.
Yep.
And then of course all the hell that breaks loose thereafter. But
Well, and it's the whole idea that you know what the one part of Gnosticism that does kind of appeal to me is it does put you in the driver's seat. It says, no, you need to go off and and figure it out. You don't go
right,
to somebody and they don't say you're good, son, you're awesome, like the whole absolution. No,
right,
it's all internal, it's all you. You have to enlighten yourself. And when you
right.
do, boom, guess what? You want to free yourself of this rotting meat sack that is your body, and you move on to what was it? Playla.
I can't
Uh,
remember. There's so
it's
many Greek
the
names,
special. Yeah, yes. There was a lot of that, wasn't
a
it?
lot of Greek names. Like I'm like,
A lot
oh,
of Greek.
I'll never remember any of this. The doodad fellow that,
The
yeah,
doodad.
takes you
The
to the other side.
doodad. The doodad.
But yeah, no, you're not wrong. And but back to religion. I mean, it's always been something where I've always felt like, we've as a there's good in religion, I
Yep.
guess, but for the most part, I mean, religion has been a scorn on. It's responsible for killing more people than the plague. I mean, it's just, yeah,
So the problem is, it often gets a bad rap as it's used to justify a lot of terrible things, which I think is what you're getting at. It is often used to say,
yeah.
you are a heretic. And by the way, so
Oh,
here's some things for the meaning of heresy for those who don't know what we're talking about, which most of you probably do.
right.
Okay. Heresy is not the same as error. Here is the choice to abandon a widely accepted teaching on an essential doctrine and base one's own view. So
Oh,
that's,
it's,
if you
yeah.
had to summarize, it's not that you were wrong and you believed something incorrect. It's not an error. You have chose to abandon. You were told you can't be heretical unless you know what the truth is.
Well, they assume you know what the
Because
truth is
there's the
because,
guy with the collar
yeah,
told you that this
because
is the
we
truth.
we told you, yeah, we told you what to believe and you didn't do it. So, well,
The
here we are now.
heretic.
I'm lighting the fire with some wet wood.
First, I'm going to try to convince you of the error of your ways.
Yeah,
Now,
I
apparently they reserve the
don't think there was a
worst.
lot of that. I don't.
And so this is
I think there was a lot of like,
the
yeah,
kindler,
Jim's not.
gentler church.
Yeah, the gentler church.
But the whole idea that we'd only torture you a little bit until you repented, and then it's like, okay, good, so you're good now. Don't do this again. Apparently, they reserve the worst for the people who were the relapsed heretic. So if you were a heretic and you repented and then relapsed back into
Oh,
heresy,
yeah. Wouldn't you think you would learn your lesson after they burnt the soles of your feet off?
yeah,
Or something like that. You'd be
you
like,
think.
I'll say whatever the fuck you want me to say.
But
Here we
got
are.
to admire, like Valentinius, who go
Mm-hmm.
off and do this despite the fact, like the fact they believe so fervently in this. Again, it's the other side of belief. It's like they double down,
Well,
right?
because we're talking about your afterlife. We're talking about a time that you can't fathom, right? So,
Yep.
and you suffered. Like, this is back in the old days, Corey. Oh, could you imagine? No bathing, terrible food. You're getting dysentery every time you turn around.
You're getting dysentery so much, you're developing a resistance to dysentery.
Yeah,
That's the worst part.
you're like, this is crazy. Like, these are uncomfortable times. Like, we have,
Mhm.
and it's funny because you hear people complain today. Like, even
Yes.
even the homeless have it better than these other people. I mean,
Then all but
but
the five
oh,
richest kings of Europe. Yes, exactly.
right? Like, it's like, dude, this was, why not believe in something? Because this is a horrible life. Like, Unless you're,
And
like you say, the king or a royal member of, like, your life sucks.
yep.
Huge.
And this is the idea again, and this is where Christianity and Gnosticism. I'm going to use those two terms like that, but it's not quite accurate. But we'll just run with it.
Sure.
Both say here is not great. So in the case of Christianity, they say, hey, you know what? Your eternal reward's coming later. So live a good life now. And Gnosticism says, this is a roach motel. Like, did you read about Adam and Eve? Did you read about Adam and Eve? Like,
No, I didn't read
what
about
Gnosticism
Adam
believes
and Eve,
about.
but I mean, there were other, yeah.
But the Adam and Eve thing. So the demiurge created the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. He didn't create it as a paradise. He created it as a roach motel, as an area
Right.
to trap them so that they would never
Leave.
they would never consider the whole fruit of knowledge, tree of knowledge thing.
Yeah.
That snake that we with Lucifer, that is actually in some cases under Gnosticism seen as being the whole enlightenment aspect, the gnosis, the knowledge that once they gained the knowledge that this was a roach
Then they
motel,
spread their wings. Yeah. And
it's the Matrix. It's the
Yeah.
Matrix. That's what it was. It's the Garden of Eden was the Matrix. And once you know you're in the
Yeah.
Matrix, you either start, I don't know, bullets or apparently try to burn shit down.
Well, that explains a lot of human history up even today.
You like burning stuff.
We do like blowing things up. But yeah, it was a great topic. I mean, it's a good topic that I didn't know a lot about, and then you take the agnostic part, and that made more sense to me. That how you're just sort of riding the fence, and I don't know. I'm more.
Did you read about Judas?
Yeah, the Judas wasn't a bad guy.
That he's the hero of the story.
Yeah,
that the Gospel
good...
of Judas they found,
yeah.
Like that one dude,
yeah.
the Egyptian art dealer had in a locker in a safe box, and basically the Gospel of Judas essentially makes out that all the other apostles didn't get Jesus' teaching, but Judas did.
Judas was the only one. Yeah.
Listen, bro, I need you to help release me from this physical form, which again sounds like a really messed up way of doing it. The whole, but again, that also plays into the Christian myth of Judas played a role. Jesus knew Judas was going to betray him, but in the Gospel of Judas under Gnosticism, Judas didn't betray him. He was the good guy.
He was like, I don't really want to do this.
It's like, I understand. I am not worthy to say I know who sent you, and I'm not worthy to say his name. Basically, not saying that you weren't sent, however, which one you read, by the demiurge, but you were by the one, the big guy.
The big guy.
The bigger guy.
Or bigger woman. I don't know. We don't know. We could, we were assuming, or just embodiment of gaseous stuff.
An unthinking cosmos that's perfect in order, that, apparently, it's like, as we get older, for example, our telomeres on our DNA start to shrink. So we start having flawed copies. So our cells are always constantly replicating, and eventually they start doing flawed copies. And this is the theory with how everything got.
That's where my hair went.
Yes, that in the drain. Yes,
down the drain it goes.
Down the drain. But that whole idea of this perfect being created something that was, let's say he's 100%, but they are 100% perfect. They created something that's like 99.9% perfect.
Right.
And then it goes down from there. Like and then you get to the whole demiurge that created your reality as we know it. And yeah, not surprisingly, we're all messed up.
Damn. Here we are. Well, did you want to recap?
Yeah, I mean, you can go down, like you said, go down rabbit holes, right?
There's so many.
Really, to summarize, Gnosticism is a dualism-based belief that there's a spiritual and a physical world, and that the physical world is horribly flawed. And it was created by a horribly flawed Old Testament God who's either A, outright evil, or B, just not good at his job.
Which is entirely possible. We've all been there.
And Judas may have been the good guy here.
You're gonna get some comments.
Well, okay, I'm not saying any beliefs, my personal beliefs right now. Yeah, comments require people listen and watch our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. It'd be the one person that watches.
One person, that's right. All of a sudden, boom.
With a list of people to kill. And
Great.
well, no, and I yeah, I mean that you summed it up. That's pretty much yeah. Well,
Yeah,
what are we doing?
it was a bit of a weird topic.
It is weird, but it was okay because I learned a few things. So,
Yeah.
and what do you want to do next week?
All right. I want to do the Munster Rebellion. So to stay on the same theme of religious craziness, the
Yeah,
Munster Rebellion.
the Munster Rebel.
Yeah,
That sounds
that's
like
right.
Eddie
Like her.
Munster.
Yes, like Eddie Munster, exactly like that.
Okay.
It's called the
Okay.
Munster Rebellion.
All right.
Look into it, and it's like it takes all this up to. It's essentially a continuation of the hey, we believe this thing. Like think like Branch Davidians, but like the 1700s edition
Oh
or
Jesus.
1800s edition. Yeah,
Oh,
it's or
it
yeah,
sounds terrible.
maybe it's even 1500s. Anyway, it's old and it's just wah
Well,
wah.
I'll definitely look into it. And yeah. Well, thank you very much for watching the OC. I'm Phil. This is Corey. And we're gonna say goodnight. And next week we'll be into the Munsters.
Yes,
Uh,
that's right. That's right. Yes, the
yeah.
monsters.
Yes, that's right. You didn't listen to a damn word I said, did you?
That's right. That's right. Monsters. I stopped paying attention at Herman Munster. I love that guy.
Eddie Munster.
They rebelled.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching.
Take care, folks.
Good night.